Thanks for attending today. My name is Pierre Hulsebus, and I'm with Scribe Software. And today, the topic of our discussion is the public sector use of Scribe. Specifically, we're going to show Scribe in the context of a police department and public safety, utilizing Scribe for integrating a web portal with Dynamics CRM. This really addresses a lot of the similar and kind of common issues many of our customers in the public sector will be addressing. That is the integration with portals and non-kind of ERP integrations, more like database integrations and things on that order. So it's a good showcase for the Scribe tools. We just want to kick it off today and thank you for your time.
And just real quick, I wanted to describe what Pierre's going to demonstrate. As you all know who are using Dynamics CRM, it's a very flexible tool or XRM platform. And a partner called Planet Technologies has built a crime prevention accelerator that's free of use to anybody that has CRM. It's an end-to-end inspection and data gathering framework that helps streamline post-burglary assessment and documentation process for on-site inspectors. So imagine someone's broken into someone's home, the police go out and inspect it, and then that information needs to be put back into CRM. So the accelerator can help you manage that, but it also is information that could be shared with citizens as well. And again, it's built on Dynamics CRM, and it's available in both cloud-based in 2011 online and on-premise, and I believe they've even built a Windows 8 application that can allow field inspectors to enter data maybe from a tablet and sync it in real time. So hopefully I didn't just take everything away from you, Pierre.
No.
And I'll turn it over to you.
All right, just want to check everybody can see my screen. You can see it?
Yeah, looks great, Pierre.
Okay, super. Well, yeah, let's talk a little bit about and just kind of set a couple scenarios up, and so talk a couple things about just kind of the practicality and some of the architectural stuff around how integration works, how our solution works, and practically what an end user's experience may be in an integrated world. So as Libby was saying, you know, one of the really common integration patterns we're seeing especially with municipalities and state agencies is the portal. Setting up a portal, a website where somebody can go in and in this case request a security inspection, which is a action after report basically, there's workflows built inside a Dynamics CRM that once a inspection is entered into CRM, then it does the assignment to the appropriate officers and propagates, you know, basically a work order, if you will, for that officer, the inspector, to go out on site and collect data around the attributes of the crime scene, the robbery, the burglary, and give some recommendations. And also the citizen has once they receive that report, they can go back in and give feedback too on what their experience was. So it's a nice example of, you know, kind of using Dynamics CRM, but for our purposes today, it helps us kind of understand, you know, some of the kind of guts of how systems like this work in place. So if you will, consider somebody would go to a portal and put this information into a portal. So, you know, just like any other kind of application, the portal has a back-end database that is pushed into a system. And so there is a SQL area where this information would reside, so somebody can go and fill this information in here. Let's see. I'm not going to go through the whole process, but and hit submit request. And then from there, what would occur is that over in the CRM app itself, let's get over to that one. Too many. There we go. What this would generate would be and this is the inspection record in the CRM application, so it would fill in, you know, we want it to kind of go in and create this data record inside of the CRM system, and when somebody does this, and fills in that information. I'm going to just hit save. This would be as if somebody had gone into the CRM application and entered the data. Once the data is entered in, then other activities can occur inside of the CRM application, those regarding things like the workflow, where an officer assignment is going to be happening and requests are submitted and other things occur inside of the CRM system. But so the real key linchpin here is getting the data in to the system. And when you have two different applications like this scenario where I've got my, enter the data in here and it's got to go into the CRM application, you need some sort of way to glue this together that's really automatic and runs in the background. And so that's where Scribe comes into play, where we're able to point to a database or a data source and then pull the information through into the CRM application, just as if somebody would have entered it manually. So I want to just give you a little bit of an architecture, just one slide here so you can kind of get an understanding of where Scribe sits in this world. So Scribe really has two interfaces. One is it runs a workbench, and I'll show you the workbench application here in a second, and that's where our field mappings and our data transformations happen between the two systems. And then another area called the console, and these all run on a server. The console is the application that kind of orchestrates the integration and lets us manage all of the timing and error management and escalations. And typically in a a large environment or even a medium-sized environment, you'll have many different workbench files. A single workbench file really handles a discrete specific set of integrations, and so you may have many different workbench files. Now, you'll see today as we work with the Dynamics CRM application, one of the benefits of this solution is that it kind of works the way that a CRM business user would think. It works very similar to, let's say, the workflow engine, in that it's very object-oriented, and that you don't really have programming or development skills that are required to make it work. So let's go look at a couple things. First is, let me just, way too many windows open up here. Let me close down a couple of these windows here. So this is, as I was saying, this is our object, our target object that we're going to be building off of that SQL table that gets created by this survey. So, I'll close this record here, and let's just go right into the CRM application here. Get right over to the CRM app. There we go. So this is where our inspections will show up. This is the one that I just entered here. So as I was mentioning, we have a SQL table here. There we go. So this is the Scribe Workbench application. As we were mentioning, we have really a couple different things going on. One is we have this connection here to a SQL table. So I have a SQL table where those surveys go into, and the surveys just have the name and address information. And then I have over here a connection to my Dynamics CRM online. In this case, it's a CRM online connection to that application that I was just talking about. So the way CRM we connect into something like Dynamics CRM, it's just through a URL. So when I connect into CRM, and this one is a CRM online, so it's going to the CRM online. I've got the Scribe Public Sector app spawned up in the CRM online, and I'm just passing my username and password into that connection. So one of the things that's really nice with Scribe is that you have this method that really is very object-oriented, as we were saying. So our CRM connection, to us, it doesn't really matter if it's a CRM online or if it's on-premise. It's just to the application, because we're connecting into the CRM application layer through the web service, their software development kit. We really just need the URL and a username and password. So we're not connecting into the database at all. into that system. We're really connecting into the application layer. We do have several different other technologies that we have. We really divide our adapters into two different methods. One is these application adapters, and the other ones are the what we call technology adapters that let us get into things like ODBC. So we were able to connect into Excel and test and, or excuse me, Excel and text files and SQL databases. We connect into Oracle and also directly into text files and XML. So you have a very wide variety of different methods, and kind of as Libby was indicating in some of her case studies, you know, especially in a lot of the customers in the government sector, you have a lot of legacy systems that are being used, you know, mainframes and a lot of different older technologies, and when that occurs, these types of broad technology adapters like ODBC are very helpful for those types of connectors where we don't really have maybe necessarily an adapter for a mainframe System 36, but there is usually an ODBC or web service adapter that allows us to connect into that system. So this is how we get data in and out of applications. So in this case, we're getting a data out of a SQL database that's running locally on this machine. And from there, we connect into the CRM application. So as I was mentioning, we really connect to what we call the object layer inside of CRM. So as we're kind of browsing through the application part of what we want to integrate with, we're able to see all of the different objects that are inside of the CRM application, not only the standard objects, but in this case, custom applications with all the custom fields that are in there. So when this workbench file loads up, it requests all of the field data and all of that information from the CRM server. So it presents that to us and what the data types are for all of this and what are the required fields and effectively the schema. So this inside of our configuration, you're able to then determine what steps you want to take with all of this data. So in this case, it's very straightforward. We're just inserting brand new cases into CRM from the source. So I might be doing updates, and I might be working with multiple objects. I might be pulling data into CRM and going back to my source data or other systems. All of this can happen. You're able to connect to multiple data sources at the same time and manage different steps throughout a specific integration process. So as Libby was talking about some of the workflow-oriented processes, that's how we're managing those types of processes. And so from there, once you have your source and you have your destination, it's a pretty straightforward process of mapping. So you choose, for example, I have a first name and last name field inside of my data source, and over inside of CRM, I just have one single, there's a field called name, where the first and last name go together. So you have all the different fields that are in there. I'm just mapping a few of them. So like name, for example, we have a set of formulas that you're able to modify the data going into CRM. So in this way, I wanted to properly case the first name and last name and concatenate them together, or kind of combine them together and put a little space in between those two words. So you can apply different formulas to transform. We call this data transformation, and this is a big thing that's especially in the CRM application, which is a little more customer facing, and you want to have that information in there very well. Data quality is an important part of these types of objectives and these types of projects. So this is how that that particular those types of functions work. So I'm just going to just hit this. I'm going to run this manually. So while this is running here, it will take a sec for it to spawn up, and it will make that connection. So while it's doing that particular part, we'll go back over here into the what we call the console, which manages all of the integration. So I'm going to go over to a console system that has a little more detail in it. So this console here is a good example of managing many different integrations at the same time. So the console is really set up to manage all of these integrations. So as we were saying, a single workbench file here, for example, and this is a case that comes out of an XML system into Dynamics CRM using XML. So this, as Libby was talking about for the city of New York and their recovery system, they have an IBM system that sends out the cases, and they're managed in a different system, but they wanted to federate them inside of CRM. So, so this one specific integration has a specific workbench file that's looking for a specific XML file, and soon as that runs, it connects it to what we call these workbench files. They have an extension of .dts. So the console manages all of this layer of when things run, coordinating the workbench file with the actions and activities that it needs to do. You know, what does its process need to do? So, so in this example here, we have an AX integration, Dynamics AX, which, as you guys know, we are all CRM users. This is one of their ERP applications. So in this one installation of a server, we have integrations between AX and CRM, and I've got integrations with CRM and SQL and CRM and XML, all being managed in one system. By managing them this way, we can turn things on and off, and we can pause them and manage them. So you have really one server in this environment that manages all of these different integrations. So that's kind of what the console does. So let's go back over here and see if this thing has started filling up. Here. I think it's timing out here on my my connections to CRM. So let's pull this back over here. Let's switch our view here to all of our inspections. And so when the inspections, yes, there we go. So as the inspections come into the system, it's important to see the results of those inspections as they come in. And so as they get integrated in this environment, they start putting push pins on where those cases are at. So, so it's kind of helpful to see kind of from an overview of where, if there's concentrations of, you know, kind of that, where all of that data is, and where the particular inspections are taking place. And one of the cool kind of integrations that is in this environment is an integration with the Bing map system. And one of the things I thought was kind of neat was, because I love this kind of data layer stuff, we can change the map from push pins to a heat map, which really consolidates all this information and really presents it in a little more actionable area to say, you know, specifically where are all of these happening. So it kind of gives us a little more, it's kind of like average, if you will. So I can see, you know, that in Palisades Heights, this area, you know, geographically, this is where there's more issues right now, more crime that's happening there. So we can direct, you know, inspectors and maybe more patrols into those kind of areas. So this is the this is kind of the payoff for this kind of integration of being able to put the data in. There's also dashboard kind of information where you can look at, you know, the performance of individuals that are inspectors that are assigned to this, what's the caseload for them to manage, what's the survey results that came back from other folks in terms of their satisfaction, and how many things have we completed over time. So this is the type of information that you'll see in an integrated system. So
thanks again so much for your time. Again, my name is Pierre Hulsebus with ScribeSoftware.com. I'm the Senior Sales Engineer, and I would love to hear your questions or anything that you may have. Please feel free to drop us an email. My name is, again, pierre.hulsebus@scribesoft.com. You can also reach out to Libby Bishop. She'll be able to arrange any sort of demonstration, answer pricing questions, get you in contact with some of our partners and other customers. So thank you again so much for your time. Have a super day.